Today's topic is green belt. The topic is covered from the last chapter, which is a major chapter dealing with the environmental issues. Now let's understand what do you mean by green belt. If we look forward, we can find that green belt is nothing else but a land area which is kept as a reservoir in an open space. That means these are the spaces which are created by the centers away from the larger city areas, and these larger city areas are basically creating the forest areas as well as the agricultural areas. That means we can find, if you have to control your habitat, your wildlife sanctuaries, you have to create a green belt area. Henceforth, we can say that it is actually a reservoir of an open space to maintain the policy of the government by creating an area of agriculture and forest which is away from the urban areas to maintain the area and protect the habitat. That is called as basically green belt area. Now let's look forward what are the advantages of green belt areas. Green belt area, as we know, is something about plantation of trees. That means you have to plant more number of trees so that the forest area are covered and created for the betterment of the environment. So when we are looking something regarding the green belt areas, of course it will have a major effect on, that is, air pollution. So a green belt area or a forest area which is created away from the city will of course have the capacity to convert much of the pollutant a land area, and this pollutant land area will have the capacity to control and convert the carbon dioxide. We all know that air pollution is caused by major problems of carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, nitrogen, sulfurs, etc. So the major part of green belt area is to control and convert this carbon dioxide and other pollutants which are released because of the vehicular and industrial problems. Of course, at the same time it will have the idea of converting, because it is having more number of plantation, forestry, that means more number of oxygen will be created. That means quality of air will be improved and we will have a better life system. The next one, when we are creating a green belt, that means we are creating a forest area. And of course, by creating a forest area, we have a major effect on controlling the noise pollution also. Now, how does a noise pollution can be controlled because of this green belt area? We all know that a noise has a capacity of moving on. That means it has to pass from a distances. This distance depends on a travel. That means it needs a source. It is not similar to that of light. Sound always needs a source. And this source creates a barrier. That means if there is a noise pollution, there will be created a barrier because of the large amount area of the forest. Now the forest, that means the plant, have a capacity to either deflect, that means whatever the sound will be created will be absorbed, it will be refracted, it will passed back, and it will be transferred. That means the intensity of the sound will get lesser and lesser, and the sound has to travel through a source. The source is important for a sound. When the trees or green belts are created, forest areas are created, of course the sound pollution will be reduced. The next important point is, we all know, that is the soil erosion. Because more amount of forest will be created, more amount of the binding of forest or soil will take place. That means water holding capacity of the forest will develop. That means we will have more amount of water for ourselves. Now what are the influences Basically, green belt has to be controlled and has to go with major different parts. That is, it has to undergo a climate factor, it has to undergo what is the height of the tree, as well as the green belt have to completely depend on the size of the land areas. That means we know that each and every land area is not similar, and because the land area is not similar, the sources of water will not be similar at every point. Now what happens next? That means we have to discuss which are the species which are being used in the for the green belts. Green belt usually has two different kinds of species. That means we can use two different kinds of species for creating the green belts. The first kind of species is the bushy plants, the plants which are like herbs and shrubs. So they can be plants which are herbs and shrubs. They are active with a fragrance of few fragrant flowers. They can be also thorny in nature. That means we know if the plant are having a thorns in it, they can control or hold much amount of water. For example, we have a cactus plant. We do not need more amount of water for the cactus plant because it is somewhat a thorny and fleshy kind of plant. Next one, more effective can be found which with the plant having a canopy like structures. That means either they should be a bushy kind or else they should be having a property of height. That means they can control more amount of air pollution and noise pollution by reflecting it. For example, we can go with Indian properties of eucalyptus, Nilgiri, commonly known in India as Nilgiri. So Nilgiri, Tulsi, turmeric, they have a better water holding capacity, as well as neem, then the plant like bamboo, which is one of the basic plant majorly found in the Indian part. For example, there is an experimentation in National Botanical Research Institutes of Lucknow which shows that if kanher, which is locally found in areas of our colony with having a yellow colored flower with light fragrance, that is called as kanher, can be used for the green belt areas. That means they have a very good water holding capacity, hence they are used. Now what does the India carry out for it? Of course, as we have seen, India did not had its own policy. India created its policy after the conferences were being conducted, and these policies we know, that means these are IPCs of 48A and 51A G clause, and according to these clauses we are now converting and helping the environment to develop more. Similar goes with the green belt also. Because we are not having the very typical kind of policies, hence the Ministry of Environment and Forest, that is also called as MOEF, is creating some kind of policies which are initiating, that means which are helping the state governments and the government of India to create regulations. These regulations are of course helping the EIA. Now what do you mean by EIA? That is Environment Impact Assessment. The role of basically EIA is to understand the area which is being developed or which is developing itself. That means these people are looking forward for the building, constructions and township industries to protect the forest area. That is called as the EIA activity. That means if the forest area is there and green belt is created, the industry should maintain its own area. That means industry and green belt area should have a distance of maximum at least 1 kilometer. Most probably the green belt areas are created on the purpose of treatment water. That means whatever the industries are releasing out the water, or whatever the agriculture is releasing out the water, is being actually first of all processed, removal of all the waste material is carried out, and after the removal of these waste material, the water treatment is then being water is then being passed into a green belt area, with which help the forest areas are developed. So henceforth that is also the work of EIA. The major next work of EIA is to maintain the project. That means whatever the landscape area is being trying to get converted into a green belt area, that is land area. These land areas is being protected by EIA. They create plants, they give more space to plants, they create the land areas which is more of agricultural and of forestry use. If industry is coming in between these land areas, it is not being permitted to convert the agriculture or forest area into an industrial area. That is the basic work of EIA. So we have looked forward for one of the major issue of green belt. Keep in mind that the green belt has a major problem of converting a land area, a forest area and a wildlife area from an urban area. That means you have to convert more and more land area with greenery part. That is henceforth it is called as green belt area. India is not having a policy, yet EIA and MOEF are trying to help the much of the green belt area to get converted. Majorly in India we use the plants for green belt area as kanher, neem, tulsi, turmeric, which are herbs, shrubs, bushes kind of plants. Next one, also we can use the green belt area for converting maximum tea with the help of canopy trees. That means thin and more heighted in number, or maybe sometimes they are bushy in form, depending upon the region. Now green belt area of course depends upon the region, in which region we are there. If it's in a region like Maharashtra, we would rather prefer to go with the neem and the plants like eucalyptus, neem, tulsi, turmeric and kanher. If it's somewhat area of the northern side, they would rather go with the trees like pine or eucalyptus because it's more heighty area. So it has a difference depending upon the designation or region. And the major part advantage of green belt is you are controlling the air pollution and you are controlling the noise pollution. Of course, with the noise pollution and air pollution, also we are helping to control the soil erosion by controlling the water runoff to be done.